Radio. WTF Nation Radio. The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots. Oh yeah, everybody! Here we are on Friday the 13th. Oh yeah. It's the 13th day of November, 2020. What could possibly go wrong? Other than the fact that my my Twitter feed's not launching and I don't know I don't know why. Oh my gosh. Welcome everybody. This is Friday Night Freedom. My name is Koz and this is Friday Night Freedom. And we are WTF Nation Radio, the voice of U.S. Army WTF moments. And I'm really hoping some of my chats are working. I'm thinking everything's working. I can't see anything. We're good. We're good. I got the thumbs up from my co-pilot Pooky. What's going on, brother?
How you doing?
I'm doing. I'm pretty fucking bueno, man. I'm gonna throw some Spanish out there. I'm pretty fucking bueno.
Quesadillas.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty freaking awesome. Yeah, having a couple of technical issues, but I think everything is gonna be okay. Friday the 13th, dude. Do you have any fears of Friday the 13th?
No, it's just some weird superstition in my eyes. But
I think I did know it in the back of my head, but I didn't know that it was like a thing. Friday the 13th is considered to be an unlucky day. I knew that the Friday the 13th is unlucky, but I didn't know why. And then I searched the internet and I found this little graphic here. So Friday the 13th is considered to be an unlucky day. It occurs in every month that begins with a Sunday. The superstition dates back to the legend about the Last Supper, where Jesus was accompanied by 13 individuals and requested reservations for a table for 26 because everyone was going to be sitting on the same side or something like that. Anyway, he was accompanied by 13 individuals on the night before his death on Good Friday. But not all cultures consider the 13th, Friday the 13th, as being an unlucky day. Spanish-speaking countries are known to consider Tuesday the 13th as a day of bad luck instead of Friday. Tuesdays are also feared by the Greeks and are considered to be dominated by Ares, the god of war. Many Italians, on the other hand, consider Friday the 17th as an unlucky day. They are actually considered to, they hold the number 13 to be unlucky. So there are scientific names for this. I mean, I guess some big brain people out there went and made up some names for what these fears are. So the fear of the number 13 is, give that a shot there, Pookie. Give that a shot.
Tryptoplasmophobe?
Triskavelociraptorphobia. That's exactly not correct. It's a triskaidekaphobia. The derivation of Latin and superstition and fear of the number 13 is called triskaidekaphobia. That is an easy word to say for me because it's got like a syncopation. It's got a flow. Triskaidekaphobia. Triskaidekaphobia. It's that word is easy for me, but there's another one which is the fear. There's a scientific word for the fear of Friday the 13th, and this one was a little bit harder for me. Give that one a shot. Can you see that graphic yet?
No,
it's coming up.
I'm just gonna say cheesecake.
Cheesecake. That's really, really close, but it doesn't start with a C or a CH or a CHE or anything like that. It's a parascovide. Oh, let me try this again. Deep breath. Parascovide catriophobia. Parascovide catriophobia is the fear of Friday the 13th. Now,
also sounds like fighting words.
It sounds like what?
Fighting words.
If I you freaking parascovide catriophobia? Would you call me, you son of a bitch? So that's the I didn't know, and I don't know where this derives from. I don't know how people get afraid of the number 13 or afraid of Friday the 13th. Maybe things are pounded in their head when they're young. So they just develop these things. I have no idea. So how many Friday the 13th are in 2020? There are two. This is the second one. The first one don't you know it came in March of 2020.
Convenient.
March of 2020 in the year of the bat. It also occurred this month. It usually happens at least once a year, but it can occur as much as 3 times a year. In 2015, when it occurred in February, March, and November. Imagine. 2015 wasn't such a bad year, I don't think. I don't remember 2015 being a bad year. Actually, 2015 was a good year for me personally.
Yeah, it was an all right year. 2015 was all right for me. I barely remember what I ate for breakfast today, so.
I think it was a good, it was a decent. Oof. Decatria is 13 in Greek. Oh my gosh. I don't know what that means. Getting the IMs here. So people, the fear is real. According to the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute of Asheville, North Carolina, I had no idea until I read that or until I made this document that there was actually a Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute in anywhere, let alone Asheville, North Carolina, says that the fear of Friday the 13th affects up to 21 million people in the United States.
So what, does people just call off work and say, screw today, I'm sleeping all day?
I don't know. I guess if it's a diagnosed condition, they might get a little bit of relief for that. I have no idea. What does NASA?
I don't understand it.
What does NASA say? What does NASA say about Friday the 13th? This Friday the 13th. According to NASA, a very large asteroid called Asteroid 2004, MN, Mike November 4, will fly close enough to the Earth on April 13th, 2029, which is a Friday, but it will fly past without hitting our planet. So in 9 years, I guess we can rest assured that this big-ass rock is not going to hit the planet.
Okay.
I'm fine. You know what? I'm fine with an asteroid right now.
At this point, just let it happen, man. Just boom. All right, cool. Get some popcorn and chips and dip and watch the whole world burn. It'd be fun.
I saw. All these. We just went through an election, and I'm not going to talk about politics, but I did see a sign for Asteroid 2020 in my, not my neighbor, but 2 houses down from him. It said Asteroid 2020. Screw it. What do you have to lose? Everything, I guess. But stuff's bad, man. Things are bad for some people. Me personally, I'm okay. Everything is fine for me personally. I'm looking at your gorgeous No Shave November face, and everything is just fine with you. You're rocking that shit, man. Look at that. Here's my No Shave November face right here. Yeah, there you go. I don't have to shave, but that point between having no facial hair to having facial hair is kind of rough. For some people, I am included in that. I grow hair kind of like a Mexican teenager on my face. Once it goes, it can go, but I don't really have time. I prefer a hairless face. You're good, man.
I don't shave. So. It actually hurts to shave, so it's just easier to just let it grow out, no?
Even if you keep it close cropped,
Oh, I hated shaving when I was in the military. I'd get razor bumps so bad up on my neck, and it was just bad.
Oh, you just let the whole thing go.
Yeah, I just said, screw it. After my service, I don't get told to shave anymore, so it works out, no?
Yeah, you're not the boss of me. Let me try something. I'm going to pop this thing out. Try to get this going here. I've lost some functionality with our broadcast here, so I'm trying to interact with our audience, and it just says initializing, and I can't get anything going on for our Twitter audience, and I love our Twitter audience, and I'm really sad that I can't get them all launched out. So I'm going to move on, and we're just going to do a show here. Mona Klein is the one that dropped that little knowledge bomb. Decatria is 13 in Greek. I had no idea. I don't even know what one is in Greek. I got no idea.
Uno.
Uno. I think that's Spanish. I'm not a worldly man. I've been to places, and I think Uno is Spanish.
Eins.
Eins is German. Oh my gosh. I can't read that. I mean, I can read that, but I don't know what it says. Anyway, let's get to a little bit of content before our guest. We have a guest tonight. Tonight on Friday Night Freedom, we have Dean McMurray. Dean is an Army veteran and a spirit medium. That got my attention. Mr. McMurray will be on at the top of the hour to talk about how his abilities can be applied to help the veteran community. I appreciate that. It's totally, this is unknown territory, I guess. I'm not educated. I'm not very educated at all. I've had a bit of experience. My ex-wife was a very spiritual woman, so she had us go to a palm reader before we got married, and the palm reader told us things that were to happen in our future, and that's about it. She wasn't big into the palm reading or tarot cards or anything like that. This is completely different. This is Dean is a spirit medium, so we're going to find out what that's all about. So mediumship is the practice of purportedly mediating communication between spirits of the dead and the living. Practitioners are known as mediums or spirit mediums. So in the top of the second hour, we're gonna learn all about that. I'm kind of excited about that. I like to learn a lot of new things. So I guess hang out with us in another 40 minutes. Dean is going to be with us. So I got some sad news on this Friday the 13th. Of course, this happened yesterday, but in Jerusalem, a helicopter belonging to an international peacekeeping force has crashed in Egypt, in the Sinai Peninsula, killing 7 peacekeepers, 5 of which were from the U.S. Army. A defense official also confirmed local reports to Military Times that there is zero indication of malicious activity. Like, it wasn't shot down. It looks like it was mechanical. The units and service branches of those killed have not yet. The units and service branches of those killed have not been released. A full investigation of the cause of the crash is underway. The crash appears to be mechanical in nature. So, sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. I work in the helicopter industry, and I totally understand mechanical failure. I've been involved in 2 mechanical hard landings, I guess. They happen. It happens a lot. I was on a test flight, and we had a malfunction. It wasn't a malfunction. It was some instrumentation that came loose, got wrapped around the drive shaft, and caused some issues. It happens. It happens. It happens probably a lot more than folks are aware of. So it sucks.
Why you won't catch me in a helicopter?
I don't know, man. I think I would rather, if something were to happen, I would rather go down in a helicopter than in a fixed wing. You can glide to the ground. You lose.
I agree with you on that, but you won't catch me dead in a helicopter ever again.
No,
just bad shit. No,
you don't like it.
Bad juju. No, won't do it. Keep my ass on the ground. I got legs for that reason.
we're talking about kind of military stuff now. I wrapped up. Have you seen The Outpost?
No, I have not. Everyone keeps saying, watch it. I have not got around to watch it yet.
I completely recommend this video. I watched it. I don't have a lot of free time. So over the last 3 days, 1 hour today, and then there was a half an hour yesterday, and then a half an hour the day before. I watched it over the course of 3 days because of my time constraints. Wow. What an amazing movie that is. It's just, it's absolutely incredible. I wanted this really caveats into absolutely no conversation, no stories that I've got. It's just I had to mention it, man. Outpost is on it's on Netflix now. It's on Amazon Prime, and I do believe that's coming out in theaters. They kind of did it backwards, A lot of times, movies come out in theaters and it's woohoo, and then it comes out in either Prime or Netflix. Not really both, but they went Amazon Prime, and they charged for it, and then it was Amazon Prime for free, and then it went to Netflix, and now it's coming out in the theaters, some theaters, fairly soon. It's a well-told story with really great characters. The actors that play these characters, Orlando Bloom, Clint Eastwood's son is in there also. Absolutely amazing. Really, really good acting. Super good acting. And I'm thinking that maybe at the end of the shooting of this video that these actors are going to have some PTS issues, man, because it was super awesome. It was really, really good. It was a well-told story. I really appreciate Mr. Laurie for directing this and Jake Tapper for writing this, because it's really an awesome story. So yeah, when you get some free time, Mr. Pooky, I really appreciate.
Oh, definitely would sit down and watch it, but I'm picky about what things I watch, and when everyone keeps telling me watch it,
no, it's good. It's good. It's really good.
I'll watch it.
No, it's like for the first hour you're just like, okay, this is just another war movie, a bunch of Joes being Joes, and then after that first hour, right after everyone is making their little sat phone calls to their family and everything's going good, and then you hear there's these tells that these folks that are telling their parents or their kids or whomever they're talking to, there's these little things that are just little Easter eggs of these bad folks are doing stuff, and it's my job to go and kill them. You don't tell your kids that, but these guys are wrapped up in stuff. It was really a bad place to be. But yeah, so if you guys get a chance to go see The Outpost, you can do it in your living room, man. It's a 2 hour and 4 minute movie. Take some time out of your schedule. It's really, really awesome. So what are we going to talk about now? Oh my gosh, we got COVID news. COVID is I know, man. I've got our they don't call them janitors, custodial worker. Her name's Maria. She has a friend, Claudia, and they clean our lab. They clean our entire hangar, and they're super awesome, and they're very hard workers. And Claudia came down with the Rona. So there's like all these other people, whoever she directly interacts with, and now they're not out of work, but they have to stay home and quarantine. She was told to stay home and quarantine, and she ended up coming down with the Rona. So that really sucks, man, because there's like a resurgence of. It's like a new surge of whatever the Rona is. I don't think anybody really knows what the Rona is. They kind of know what it is, but the way it behaves, the way it transmits, the way the symptoms are. Because I read an article that says that the Marine Corps. It was a story from the Marine Corps saying that all of these, and I'm sure the Army and the Navy and everybody else is the same way. That there's all of these when soldiers or Marines or whatever, they report to their basic training or their MEPS. Everybody is segregated. Everyone's separated. Everyone gets their temperature taken all the time. Their health is monitored, and they go to their posts and they're separated and segregated. And everything is cleaned, and in this story, and they specifically mentioned the Marine Corps that says it just didn't freaking matter because these people are coming down as COVID positive after being segregated and not quarantined, just segregated for all, like weeks on end, and they're, still contracting and then transmitting the virus. And now lots of states in the United States here are slapping new restrictions on daily life amid the resurgence of this coronavirus. Some officials say that the most widespread and intense restrictions are in place since the pandemic struck in March. I remember when it came down in March, and it was like, oh wow, this is kind of bad. And then I was tracking it. I got a spreadsheet, as far as my state and in my area, of things and how things were going. And it's like, you got 10. Oh, you got 20 more. Oh, okay, we got 30 more. Oh wow, someone died. Okay, this might be bad. And then it just snowballed from then. Governors in New York, Maryland, Minnesota, Iowa, Utah, and I want to add in Wisconsin. It wasn't mentioned in this article. And other states have imposed measures as the U.S.'s new daily case count exceeded 144,000, and that was on Wednesday. As of 1 hour ago, before the show, the total number of COVID cases in the United States is 11,055,769, and there are 249,919 fatalities. That's a lot, but it's still, when you do the math, if you get diagnosed with the Rona, that doesn't mean you're going to be in a hospital and strapped to a ventilator. It's cause for concern. Claudia came down. She tested because she had to test because she was exposed to someone who was diagnosed. She came down with she tested positive. She went and took her kids to get tested just out of concern, and all three of her kids, and she has a little baby, man, a little baby, and he came down, or I say came down with it. He was diagnosed with it. Her kids are healthy. They've been diagnosed having COVID-19, but they are not sick. And I think that there's a lot of stuff in the news that's just that's kind of crazy. Now, all of these, there's 11 million people that have been diagnosed with the COVID-19, but how many of them are sick? I don't think a lot. There's these people, 11 million have been diagnosed as being COVID positive. There's the figure of 249,919 people who have died, but there is another figure that has how many people are hospitalized locally here. I don't know how many municipalities and cities are actually saying, okay, this is very serious, wear a mask and stay your distance and whatever. But there's not a whole lot in the mainstream, in the national news saying, this is how many people are deathly ill or in need of medical attention because of their diagnosis. These people are sick. I haven't seen a lot of figures for that. I've seen a lot of local figures for that, but it's not nationally. So what are you seeing in your area? I mean, you're on the East Coast.
I'm in a pretty hot spot actually, because we kind of had to open up in this area because tourism fuels this entire economy here. So they opened it up, and it was just like people were popping hot like crazy and spreading it. They were going back home and spreading it. I was like, you see people all over the place, they're wearing their chin diapers. So it's like I like to call them. Like, so if you're gonna put a mask on, at least wear it properly. It's I don't know. This whole thing's just crazy. It's fueled by a lot of stupidity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of hype, and I think there's a lot of people who like to hold on to power or who like to wield power.
I agree with you on that. You've seen it in a few states where it's just like they went straight draconian law, lockdown kind of shit. Huh?
The first state that comes to mind is Michigan, the way that they're treating it there. Illinois, not so much, a lot, but not as much as Michigan. California is off the chart. They're
Aren't you trying to tell people not to go to Thanksgiving or something like that? And they're like getting crazy with it, like don't spend time with your families. And
they're trying to limit social gatherings regardless of what it is. It doesn't matter if it's unless it's I guess it's if it's a political rally, you're fine. Republican Governor Mike DeWine says it's on fire. We've got to slow this down. We've never seen anything like this. Our spring surge and our summer surge were nowhere like this. While governments in Europe and the UK, and we mentioned this last week, have recently opposed a very broad lockdown measure as coronavirus cases rise, many states have so far resisted full lockdowns, saying that they know more about the virus now and how it spreads and how to prepare hospitals. They know more about this now than they did in the spring, and they want to avoid hurting struggling businesses and household. Yesterday, Democratic Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, you've seen her in the news, issued a 30-day stay-at-home advisory, while Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, also a Democrat, asked residents statewide to stay at home as much as possible. So he's falling short of the mandatory lockdown. This kind of makes me nervous because my plans are to drive, because I don't want to fly just to be safe. So I was going to drive up and go see my brothers, go see my parents and my nieces and nephews over the Christmas holidays. And that takes me up into Illinois. I grew up in Chicago. And then up into Wisconsin where my parents live. So the closer I get to that time, I'm just like, I'm a month. What day is it? Today's the 13th. So I'm a month and 10 days away from starting that drive. And I'm like, do I want to go up there? I mean, we're pretty hot here in Texas, but they're super hot up in Illinois and up in Wisconsin. I've made my reservations. I've paid for my hotels. I'm good to go. But man, I just get nervous. I'm personally nervous. Maybe I've got it.
Oh.
And do I get tested? If I get tested, I've got it. The results are going to be reported. Maybe I'm just asymptomatic. I don't know.
It's crazy. I haven't gotten tested yet because I haven't really been exposed. I've honestly, as hot as this area has been, I have not met someone personally who's had it. No?
I've been working every day since this thing kicked off. We went through the initial lockdown, stay at home, and it was okay because I got to go to work. There's a lot of people that didn't get to go to work. I think Texas is a different. It's a different, I think we've had a different approach to things. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but I was still able to go to work. A lot of, I couldn't get a haircut. I tried to cut my hair for the first time. That was funny. I don't want to do that again.
I used to cut my hair all the time. There's just a razor blade.
There's a reason there are professionals there that cut hair. But yeah, we've been. I personally have not experienced I don't go to bars. I don't go to a lot of restaurants. So there's all of these things that people are used to being social. I mean, we're a social species, man. A lot of folks being social, like being social. I can take it or leave it. I like my friends.
I'd be happy on an island by myself with a volleyball. Wilson.
I like hanging out with people. I like hanging out with people I know. But, I haven't had, if you're in New York, I guess you have a different lifestyle, a different way of doing things. So, so the UK is locking down, I think Germany, what did we talk about last week? Germany and UK wasn't on board yet, but Germany and France are locking down.
I don't see these lockdowns continually having. It's not going to solve the problem. It's going to create more chaos than anything.
So, Illinois, it said, we recommend that you stay home, which is what I do anyway. I'm not in Illinois. I'm in a different state, but it's kind of what I do anyway. So I guess I haven't experienced the fullness of what this is. Mr. DeWine said on Wednesday he imposed a stricter mask order that allows authorities to briefly close businesses if there are repeat violators. I go to the store once a week. I go and get groceries once a week. I wear a mask. Everybody I see that's in that store wears a mask. I don't see, I'm in one city that's in one state in the entire nation, so I don't see, what the attitude is. But I hear that people are like refusing to wear a mask because you're infringing on my freedoms.
If Walmart says, "Hey, wear a mask," or you're not allowed in here, that, in my personal opinion, you're allowed to do that. No,
they are. It's a private business.
The government coming down, however, walking by and fining people $500 for not wearing a mask when they're standing by themselves in the middle of nowhere, is kind of agitating to me.
I've heard that. I have not seen anything, and I actually checked. I live in Tarrant County, Texas, and I haven't seen any reports of anybody being fined for not wearing a mask. Or if you're belligerent in a place of business, guess what? You get kicked out. You're not allowed in.
Yeah, that's the way it works. I mean, Walmart owns its business. They can say whatever goes on in the store. I'm fine with that, but it's too easy for companies to say, "Hey, wear a mask inside our store. Hey, distance." It's too easy. Get out of here if you can't stay distanced. That's how we fix it. The government ain't gonna fix this.
No, I don't think the government can fix much of anything except for national defense issues. I think we're pretty good at that. I think we suck at fixing potholes and dictating the lives that people should lead. So Mike DeWine also said that he thinks it's wrong that the focus is on the fatalities that have happened. There's been 249,000, almost 250,000, and you're probably going to see tomorrow morning, United States, a quarter of a million fatalities due to COVID-19, and then they'll blame it on Trump or some shit like that. So Mike DeWine says the focus is too much on fatalities, which are terrible, but it obscures the fact that many people who survive really go through hell, and we forget about them. Many officials attribute the rising cases to complacency in travel and social settings such as bars and house parties. A lot of states, if not most states, the bars are open. We were open. I have no idea what the percentage is. It was 75%. I think Governor Abbott rolled that back to 50%. I don't go to bars, so I really don't know. I don't know if they're in the same category.
The pool hall that I go to a lot around here, they have to close at 11. They're allowed to stay open past 11, but they're not allowed to serve alcohol anymore. Because apparently if you drink after 11 o'clock at night, coronavirus comes out of nowhere and strangles you to death.
Well, it comes out of the bathroom that they don't clean.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess 10 o'clock is cut off. I think even the Taco Bells around here have to close at 10.
No.
Yes.
See, I've got a 24-hour Taco Bell down the street. They close. I think you can walk in and order food, but after 10 p.m., you can't walk in. It's all drive-through. Everything's drive-through, and then when you order at the drive-through window, everything is handed to you via a little basket. And they're really good at that. They've gotten really super good at that. Handing all, your drink and all of your food and stuff. They'll hand you the bag, and then all of your other, if you pay in cash, which I do most of the time, they'll hand you all that stuff it comes in a basket.
I was reading somewhere they've been doing that in Japan for a long time, where if you pay with cash, you put it in this little thing, like at a 7-Eleven or whatever, you put it on this little thing and they pull it, and then
like a bank.
It's like a little tray kind of thing that they move across, but there's no hands touching it.
It's like in a bank vault. I had to go to the bank today to. I got an unexpected check in the mail today, which is awesome. It was a Gap insurance refund or some shit like that. So I went to the bank to stick it in my savings account, and went to the bank, and you got those little sucking tube things that go through. But I went through right where the window is. That little arm that comes out, and here, sign this and put your stuff in there. And imagine.
I honestly think it's all like a placebo effect thing.
I don't know. I can't.
All this distancing and separating, and hey, we're doing this, and understand companies want to make business, and if people are scared, they're going to kind of try to. But like the whole okay, you go to Chick-fil-A, they come out with this tray, and it's like, well, people touched it. No, this whole thing is like this placebo effect. No?
I went and had some of the Lord's chicken the day before yesterday, and it was a very pleasant experience. And it usually is, but it was
I love Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A.
It is good. It is good. Sometimes, I could take the pickle or not take the pickle. When I get that chicken sandwich, it's crazy, man. When I was in AIT, I went to Fort Gordon, and there was, of course, Chick-fil-A was there. You can get a Chick-fil-A sandwich for 99 cents. They had a Chick-fil-A in the mall, and you can go in there and get a Chick-fil-A sandwich for 99 cents. Then they blew up and went nationwide, and now it's, what is it, $2.80 or $3 for a chicken sandwich?
I got a story.
Same damn sandwich, same slap of chicken.
Me and my mother went to Chick-fil-A the other day, and we rolled through, and I got chicken nuggets, and I'm happy. Yeah, I got chicken nuggets. I got my chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets.
And I looked down, and I'm like, where's the sauce? Oh, I forgot to ask for sauce. So I had to sit there. I was like, I'm not going back through that line because the line's freaking crazy right now. So I was like, well, I'm just going to wait till I got home, and I used my own barbecue sauce instead of that Polynesian sauce. I was so sad. Very sad story.
That's some good sauce right there. Pooky had the sad face. He didn't have his Polynesian.
I didn't have Polynesian sauce.
I use the Polynesian for the fries.
Oh, I do too. Well, sometimes the Chick-fil-A or the ketchup, whatever. The fries are amazing. I just wish you could order a large fry. I don't think you can order large fries.
I think fries are fries at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, you can't order a large. So, I would just order me how Five Guys does it with the big old bag of
Oh, my gosh. Who orders a small fry at Five Guys? You get a whole bag of fries.
But I'm saying, but with Chick-fil-A waffle fries in there, oh man, that'd be dope.
Yeah, I get the Polynesian, and I dip my fries in there, and I just slather. I'm a white dude, so I just slather mayonnaise on my chicken sandwich. It's crazy. I go to like Subway or something. And if there's a black guy that's making the sandwich, I'm like, hey man, let me get some. I'll get the steak and cheese, and I'm like, I just want some, onions, lettuce, and mayonnaise on there. Man, that dude fucking loads up the mayonnaise. Like that's what I want, which is it's not bad. I'll eat it, but if there is another black family in front of me that's ordering a sandwich and we want some mayonnaise, it's like just a little bit. I guess there's a limit to the amount of mayonnaise that one can incur because of their race. So they're increasing COVID testing. Here in Texas has been pretty much, if you want a test, you can go and get a test. In other states, my daughter has been exposed. Her work partner, they work in teams. Her work partner was exposed. So her work partner went home. She came down with the Rona. My daughter has been exposed, but she's staying at home for 2 weeks. She has not developed any symptoms. She's healthy, which is a strange story to me because she said, I ran a mile today. Okay, you're running now. She has a boyfriend who is a track god or whatever. So I think she's trying to begin to run just to match his hobbies and interests and whatever. But here, here in Texas, if you need a test, you can go and get a test. If your job says so and so's been exposed, please test them. They can, of course, their badge to get into the plant is deactivated. You can't get in here. But until you get like two clear tests, you can't. If you're negative on two simultaneous or two consecutive tests, then you forward that to HR, and then they reactivate your badge, and you can come back to work. Otherwise, it's a 2 week vacation. It used to be a vacation. They used to give us 80% pay for the time that we're away. Now it's you got to use your sick time.
Yeah, I think My mom's a corrections officer, and she gets tested like all the time. But if they pop positive or show any symptoms, they get an instant 14 days full paid vacation, pretty much.
Full pay? That's pretty awesome. I mean, mostly because they do contact tracing at my work to figure out, okay, where you've been, who you've been around, and you know how that works. Most of it, actually 90 fucking percent of it has been because of their social activities after being at the job is where they got it from.
That's exactly what happens where my mother works. It's some idiot decided, let's go to this huge house party.
We're going to have a barbecue. All right.
Yeah, like, dude. I mean, that's the reason that I don't want to get into that. I don't even want to get into that.
So, and like I said earlier, many officials attribute the rising cases to complacency in travel and social settings, which we just mentioned, such as bars and house parties and barbecues and whatnot. The virus will not move on just because we want to get back to pre-COVID lives. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan said in a news conference. Mr. Hogan rolled back indoor dining capacity to 50% from 75%. And he mandated telework for government employees and strongly encouraged it for other employers within the state. He also urged residents to immediately postpone or cancel travel to states with rising metrics and limit indoor gatherings to 25 people or fewer. I guess I can get behind that. I think everyone just needs to just chill the hell out. I mean, I know there was this, we got to lock down for 2 weeks just to flatten the curve, but then we've been trying to flatten the freaking curve for a long damn time.
I could present you with this big thing. This is going to be just like the flu, and we're going to have a COVID season, and it's the new thing. We need to get over it.
But is it a season, though? Because this has been riding since, March. Let's start with March. And there's graphs and stuff that just say, okay, we're good. And then we shut down. And it did flatten the curve. But then after May, I think May is when states started opening back up. Then that shit just started to go up. And that graph is steadily going up.
Everything I've seen on the news lately, it looks like this little wavy line thing. Hey, this is the first initial. And now, of course, the number's going to go up because, they're counting total infections since January was the first infection in the United States, I think.
I don't know the answer to that. I think people were getting sick with the Rona since at least November of 2019.
No, I know I was deathly sick in November, and it wasn't the flu. I got tested for the flu. It wasn't the flu.
They're like, oh, you're just sick. You got allergies. You got, they throw some bullshit excuse.
And then, there's other questions to be asked, about the immunity of this. Once you catch it, are you immune?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
How's the vaccine going to work then?
I think it's gonna mutate. There was a story about a guy that actually went through, and this is recently, went through the drug trial, and he said that it was as a participant, you don't know if you're getting a placebo or if you're getting the actual immunization. He said he's pretty sure that he got the actual immunization because he felt. Once he got the first shot, it's a series of 2 shots. He said he felt very, very sick for a couple of days, and then there was a lot of injection site pain. But then he recovered. He got the second shot. He felt the same symptoms at a much lesser level. He said he took some Advil, and everything was gone. And now he is where he is. So there's a vaccination. If it's offered to you, will you take it?
No.
I think I would wait. Me personally, and this is Koz talking. Personally, I am waiting for at least a year, maybe more than that, just to see what the side effects are, if there are side effects. And side effects don't mean a pain where the shot happened or you're feeling nauseous. It's weeks, months.
Months later, start foaming at the mouth, eating people.
Oh yeah, if you start eating people, I'm definitely not going to get. I'm not going to get the immunization. So anyway, a lot of contact tracing is going on. So contact tracing indicates that infections commonly spring from family gatherings and house parties. House parties mean gatherings at the house. I say house party. I'm like, woo, 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 fucking, music pumping and shit. It's, gatherings at the house. There's also a notable increase in infections on people who had recently dined indoors at a restaurant, traveled out of state, or worked outside the home.
Well, I mean, anything that involves being outside, being productive at that point, right?
Right?
Yeah. So just everyone stay at home, bunker down, and we'll just wait this out until the virus doesn't exist no more. I fixed it. Holy crap.
So I don't know, man.
No, it's just funny. I mean, I don't see why we're not like looking at other countries, but a lot of countries are doing the same thing. Lockdown. I think Japan actually is doing this thing called, instead of the new normal, like they're calling it here in the States, I think they're calling it like how to continue living with the virus or something like that.
Living with the virus, yeah.
Living with the virus. So they just accepted the fact that it's here, but we got to be careful. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. Don't touch your eyeballs. Keep your snot biological weapons, from touching everything.
I think there's something to be said about living with the virus, because I mean and I'm speaking about this from personal experience. I don't have the experience that other people have about being around it in a school or being around, constant new traffic, like just this random. Because you got to figure, and we're using contact tracing as a little modifier here. If you're a teacher, you have students that go back home, and those parents that live in that home go to their jobs, and they're surrounded by other people, and they go shopping, and they contact other people. How do you accurately trace any of this? Because so many people have different contacts. I have contact with really nobody personally, except for going to the store once a week and working with people. But then you work with those people that have kids, and the kids do things, and the parents do things, and they go shopping. Who knows who they contact with? I have no idea.
And so you also have got some people floating around to still believe that this is a hoax and it doesn't exist, and they just go about doing their own thing and spreading.
There was a legislator in I don't think it's a hoax. I think that the hype about Corona has been hoax worthy. Can you get sick? Yes, absolutely you can get sick. Is it a hoax? I don't think the disease is a hoax at all, but I think the hype about it, and it shows with 11 million who have tested COVID positive, and only 250,000, and I say only 250,000, that I'm just giving you data that have died. The people who get sick and are really having issues, most of them are 70, 75 or above. Not discounting the people that are getting sick, but there are young folks that are getting sick. There are young folks that are getting ill, and those numbers can't be discounted at all. I don't know, man. I'm not a doc. I know a lot of doctors that don't know what the hell's going on.
Nah, this is when the government comes out and says, "Hey," I'm like, I don't want to hear it. That's just me. They ain't been able to fix a thing since World War II, I don't think.
Not really. All right. We are 2 minutes to the top of the hour. I think we're going to take a break, and we're going to bring our awesome guest. up on the airwaves. I got to click a couple of buttons and make some of these things work here. Dean McMurray is on his way. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be back right after these messages. Well, there's no messages. We got some music from Assuming We Survive and another round. So hang out with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Suck me in, we played this game and no one wins. Wanted to believe you never threw
voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, for part 2 of Friday Night Freedom. My name is Koz, and this is WTF Nation Radio. We are the voice of U.S. Army WTF Moments. I am joined here in the studio by Dean McMurray. Dean is an Army veteran and spirit medium. Mr. McMurray will be on in just a second to talk about his abilities and how they can be applied to the veteran community. Oh, I didn't change the graphic. Okay, this like hosting stuff is kind of difficult. You kind of want to change graphics and talk about things. And I was gonna show our awesome faces here, but we're gonna settle with Dean. Dean is here, and he looks like a really serious dude. Look at that. Super serious. How you doing, Dean? My name is Koz, and this is WTF Nation Radio, and thank you very much, sir, for joining us tonight.
Hey, great, Koz. Thanks for having me on, and I'm not sure if you have that that old photo that looks like out of basic training somewhere. I don't know, the split photo.
No, I've got you. You're in a blue shirt, and you're just
yeah. So some what I call the money shots, I guess.
I figure if you're in the public eye, you've got to take some. Okay, Mr. McMurray, kind of looks serious here. Okay, snap.
Right. Yeah. Quit screwing around. Let's get some serious photos.
In spite of the photo that we're showing, you do smile. It sounds like you do smile a lot.
Well, right. So I try to, anyways. Right, especially being a veteran. Right, I think you gotta try to at least laugh at half the shit that goes on.
You pretty much have to laugh at all of it nowadays.
Right.
So, Dean, you were in the Army. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your service.
Yeah. So, just like most kids, went right out of high school back in '89. Actually had a break in service from, about a year and a half. Went right into the infantry. I was really smart back then, and but got out after about 4.5 years, and then went straight back in after about a year and a half break.
Did you go back into the infantry?
Yeah, right back in the infantry. Boy, I had a high ASVAB, let me tell you. But went right back, and of course, from Campbell to Korea, all over, and spent most of that time as a light fighter units, and then spent about 6 years total in jump units. So about 3 years in Alaska, and then around about another 3 years at Bragg.
Oh, you've been around.
And some time in Afghanistan before getting out, and then I found a pretty sweet gig with the Army National Guard here in the state, by my home state. And working for them for full time, and did that for the last 10 years before retiring. So that was kind of a hidden gem within the military. So
you kind of, I'm trying to place the accent. You kind of sound Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Yeah, pretty close. It's Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota, and I'm in North Dakota now.
Oh,
so
nice.
I stayed in that. Yeah, so I stayed in that Midwest area. Yeah. So the Guard actually, the military brought me to North Dakota, but when I got out after Afghanistan, I went right back to my hometown up on the Canadian border, and hung out there for a while until.
So you live in a border town.
A border town. I did. I used to. That's where I grew up, and there wasn't a lot happening, let me tell you, unless you like winter sports and hockey, hunting, fishing, and So it's kind of like what I would call a northern redneck.
Sounds like fun.
I don't know what they call it. I mean, we got rednecks down here in Texas, but I mean, do you have rednecks up there in North Dakota?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think every part of, this great nation has our, what I call the rednecks, right? And like going out hunting and fishing. And I really don't know why, we continually call them rednecks, but, like going out and, the country boys, if you will, and, spend time outdoors. And, I really found even after I got out of the military that it was a great healer. It was a great time to not only, commune with nature, but just kind of get away from all the BS and kind of really get back to the simple things, right? And whether you have a dog or not or whatever, but you're just getting out hunting and fishing and just spending time away from all the noise, I call it.
I guess the clinical term is communing with nature and just being outside and grounding and just being out there. I call it, going out to the park or going fishing or I'm not a hunter, but I get it. Yeah. I totally understand. Now we got the start of deer season. Rifle season just opened up, so I'm missing like half of my crew at work because we're hunting. Okay, do your thing.
And I know for most states, especially in the Midwest, that's the second or the unofficial holiday season is deer season. It's everybody's gone.
It's the pre-holiday right before Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I totally appreciate it. It's not my thing, which is fine. I actually enjoy a lot of the guys will go out and they'll kill a deer or two and they'll bring in some deer sausage and just stuff to share with everybody at work. And I really appreciate it.
Right. That's good stuff. It's good stuff.
If you do that thing, that's awesome. Shoot Bambi. Yeah. I don't care. I like Bambi. I think they're delicious.
It is, and it's great meat. It's great for you. A lot of people don't realize it, and at least where your meat's coming from as well.
Exactly.
It's been a while now since I've been at hunting, but I plan on getting back out hopefully here next year. So, yeah.
So you do you spent a lot of time in the infantry. Are you still infantry with the Guard?
No, I'm not infantry. I'm not even in the military anymore. I'm retired. Been retired now.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. About 7 years I've been retired. So I spent a total of 14 and a half years infantry. Like I said, then I got out, came full-time with the Guard here in North Dakota. And then, of course, serving in various MOSs and administrative support roles in a full-time capacity throughout the state, from being a recruiter to, the guy that processes your pay to, hey, here's a new patch for your ACUs or, all that kind of crazy stuff. So all the support guys and making stuff happen. So did that for the last 10 years and retired after 24. And really that's how this whole crazy story started.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, a lot of people ask me, well, you're a medium and that means you talk to dead people. Great. That's fine. However, did you know this when you were in the Army? Did you, were you part of some secret organization? And no, I wasn't part of some secret organization.
Something that happened or something. You've probably felt this all your life.
Well, looking back and looking back, Koz, I guess I was maybe sensitive in a sense and knew things, but my mom obviously said, "Wow, it makes a lot of sense. You're a sensitive kid." And I'm like, "Really? You're telling me I can't remember this stuff." But really, I wasn't aware of my abilities until about my last 3 years of service. I was in the Guard, and we deployed to the lovely country of Kosovo.
Beautiful.
And
mountainous, snow.
What's that? Oh,
mountainous and snow.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. And deployed there. Did a year in country. Came back. and nothing changed other than maybe my son being born, and life was good. And I was getting ready. I knew the clock was ticking down. I was going to retire, pull the pin, and work for our local VA. And that was my plan. My kids at the time were very young. And like I said, my son was just born, and my daughter was, I want to say, about 5, 6 at the time. And but all, what I call all hell started breaking loose in the fall of the year. It was about November, so it was about this time of year. And clocks and pictures just started flying off the wall. Now, it's not just shaking off the wall. It was the poltergeist
physical things started happening.
Physical things like flying off the wall. And I was like, holy, you know what? Like as what I considered myself as a very atypical guy, because when that would happen, I picked it up, looked at it, went over to the wall, looked at the screw or the nail, and go, is that in the, does it have a drywall anchor? Is that in the stud? Is that,
how did this
so
happen?
I'm trying to put logic. Why is it happening? Because nobody wants to hear, well, there was a spirit or a ghost just, threw it off the wall. And, it would be easier for me to put logic to it, saying, it just, shook off because maybe the train went by or whatever. And that wasn't the case, because there was a lot of things that it shouldn't have fell or flew off. And I looked at my wife, and I said, and I knew that she was kind of seeing a local psychic in her area, and she was getting readings and going to some classes and stuff. And
did that weird you out at all when she decided, hey, I'm going to go get a psychic reading? You're like,
it's kind of funny. It didn't, because she disclosed that to me when I was overseas, and says, hey, I'm going to have the house doused. And if anybody's not familiar with dowsing, it's ranchers used to use it to locate wells. You can also use it to locate spirits and energies within homes. And quite frankly, when she, of course, here we are Skyping just like we are tonight. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the hell is, dowsing? And I was like, wait a minute, they did a Discovery thing. I'm going back to Discovery, and I'm like, oh yeah, I think they talked about it one time. And of course I'm Googling, and I was like, okay, whatever and then I jokingly refer to it as her and her voodoo friends. And then, so all of a sudden I'm calling this lady the voodoo chick, this psychic. And because that was my terminology, because I wasn't a big believer in all things psychic and woo-woo, I call it, right?
Okay, so I think we were at the same point, because I'm right now I'm just like, whatever. I mean, right? you do you, I'll do me.
Right.
My ex-wife was kind of the same way. We had a woman that I don't know. She was friends with her for years. Read our palms and said, you're going to have this many children, and this is how your relationships are going to go. And sure enough, that's pretty much how our relationships have gone. It's really kind of creepy.
It is kind of creepy. Well, and at that point too, though, Koz, is like, I wasn't in the space. And that's the thing I want to reiterate. That's why I was using that verbiage of like the voodoo chick.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear anything about any dead people. Like, quite honestly, that kind of creeped me out. I just wanted her to stop all the nonsense that was going on, like all the clocks and pictures flying off the wall. And I thought they just waved a wand or something and just made it stop. I didn't know.
Burn some sage and you're good.
Yeah, I was like, what? Do you rub some crystals together? What do you do? And of course, I'm always a jokester anyways, really. And I think it's that kind of smart-assy military aspect,
I guess
right?
It's a way to cope.
Well, it is. But to be honest, I think more importantly, I think it's something we poke fun at things that we don't understand. And quite honestly, it made me really uncomfortable, because if we were talking about VBIDs, IEDs, insurgents, that I can understand. That I can take action against, right? In my mind, probably you guys is too, you can conceptualize how how you would defend your home, your family against some type of threat external, but
at least a physical threat, something you can see and touch and hear.
Yeah, but what about paranormal?
Right.
Like you start talking about ghosts and things that you can't stop with a bullet, things that you can't stop with tackling. How do you, and so I was like, quite honestly, I looked at my wife and I said, call the voodoo chick. And I was like, calling QRF, get a hold of the voodoo chick.
Oh, no.
And so she comes over and she proceeds to tell me that my grandfather, who was my grandfather on my mom's side, who was a World War I veteran, he was there. And I was like, I'm looking at her sideways, like she had another arm growing out of her forehead. And I'm like, really? And I said, where was he after all the other deployments? I'm going, well, where was he after Korea and Afghanistan and Bosnia? And, you're just going down your list after 24, almost 24 years. Everybody gets a laundry list of, government-sponsored vacations. And she said, well, I can't answer that right now, but what I can tell you is that he's here now. And I said, well, what the hell does he want? Nothing against Grandpa, but why the hell is he here? And she said basically to, give you love and support. And there's nothing, I have no bad blood between me and my grandpa, but I just couldn't conceptualize in my head why he was coming forward for me. And,
that's pretty benign, though.
Like, what's that?
It's pretty benign.
Well, right.
He just wants to send you love and support. Well, what other, dead relative would not want to send you love and support?
Right. And, so, yeah, that's why I was kind of like, I'm not buying it. I think you're smoking your own sage, and I had all these thoughts running through my head, and I'm like, let's just pay her and get her out of the house. And so fast forward some time, she did nothing for the situation at the time. And so she left, and fast forward a couple weeks, and I was washing bottles, I don't know why, at midnight for my then newborn son. And everybody is in bed. My daughter, my son, my wife, everybody's racked out. And I'm standing there, and to kind of paint you a picture, I was standing at the kitchen sink. There's kind of an open concept in our old home, and it's kind of open to the living room. The whole area is blacked out except like a little light in the kitchen. And I just get the creeped out feeling that somebody's standing behind me. I'm sure you guys have had it, maybe even on night patrol or whatever. You have a sixth sense. Your bones are telling you there's somebody next to you. You can feel it, right?
Yeah.
The hair is standing up.
I've had that at work. I've had that in my house. I've had that everywhere.
Right. And I turned around, and of course, I could physically not see anybody. And I'm like, what the hell? And I was like, kind of giving myself a hard time. Oh, you're just tired. And just, my mind started kind of giving myself a hard time. And it was like my ego came out and was like, you're just tired. You're making it up. And then all of a sudden, I just knew out of nowhere, I had a moment of clarity that my grandmother was standing with me. And I quite honestly out loud go to myself, how the F do I know it's grandma?
You can drop the F if you'd like.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. How the fuck do I know it's grandma?
There you go.
And and here I'm having a conversation with myself, saying, I don't know, and because I didn't know. But quite honestly, I started thinking, holy shit, I'm going crazy. And, I'm having a flashback. Something's going on. I had too much to drink. What the hell? And so I was like, you know what? Well, I just need to go to bed. And so that's what I did. And so I went to bed, but I knew that grandma was there. And part of me was like, well, shit, grandma's here. She's not going to hurt you. Like, grandma loves you. Like, she was really close to me. And so I'm laying in bed with my eyes closed, but I'm very much awake. And so I started talking to her one way. I think it's kind of normal if you love somebody and they die, like, hey, if you're really here, like, how are you? And what the hell you been up to? And, and all of that. And then it was...
So you talked to her like she's a person, a physical person, and then
right.
and then something.
You're right, because then I go, you know what? This is all bullshit. If she was really here, she would prove it.
Oh,
and
damn.
That's when she immediately turned the room absolutely frigid. Like all of a sudden you would have walked out in the middle of the Midwest in January. And I was like, holy shit, what just happened? Because you could feel the dramatic drop in temperature in the room. And if I could have saw my breath, I know I could have saw, fog. And I was like, holy crap. And so then, I continued talking to her. Hey, Grandma, love you, all that. And then again, I went back, you know what? This is all bullshit. If you're really here, you'll prove it. Why don't you just touch me?
Oh, no. Oh,
no.
no.
Famous words, right? And, so it was a gentle yet firm pressure that started from the top of my head, went down to the bottom of my feet, and pushed me into the mattress. And I don't know, but I'm a side sleeper for, not anybody gives a shit, but I was sleeping on my side. And I could physically hear, the springs compressing. I could feel the mattress come up around me. It was something where, like, I was like, there's somebody on me. And I was like, holy fuck, like, what is going on? And it completely freaked the hell out of me. And so I was like, brought out the 4-year-old little kid in me and goes, all right, Grandma, love you. See you soon. Like, get the fuck out of here. And as soon as I said that, boom, it was like, there was no weight on me anymore. The temperature immediately went back to normal room temperature. And, it was normal, except I was now sitting up in bed, completely covered in sweat, out of breath. And I was like,
and completely awake, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I was awake anyways. I wasn't asleep. So if you remember earlier in the story, I was telling you that I was laying there just with my eyes closed. I wasn't asleep. And that's the thing. I was very much conscious. And that I was like, holy shit, what did I just experience? And so I'm waking up my wife, and she was like, what's going on? I was like, there's somebody here. And she's thinking there's somebody breaking in. I said, no, there's a spirit here. She looked
Sarah,
at me
Sarah grabbed the shotgun, and there she went.
Right. Well, and she was like, how the hell do you know there's a spirit? And I said, right? I don't know. You better call Voodoo Chick. I'm thinking we got to get this lady back here. Well, she was like, Dean, it's like 2:00 in the morning. You need to take your ass back to bed. And I was like, shit, there's no way that I'm going to go back to bed. Right. And, so I think I watched TV or whatever for the rest, for the rest
Ghost
of the
Hunters
night.
or whatever.
Yeah, right. I don't even know what it was, but I was too freaked out to sleep. And fast forward some time, and I really wanted to figure out, what the hell happened and what was going on. And the only one that I knew, was this, who I call this Voodoo Chick. And so I went back to her and I said, look, I want answers. And it was like, I want answers. I want them now. And she was like, well, I want you to read this book before you come see me. And it was a book by, if you guys are familiar with John Edwards, so a more internationally known public figure with psychic mediums. And he wrote a great book called The Infinite Quest. And basically he asked people in this book, why the hell do you want to be a medium? And I was like, great question, because I don't. And I kept on coming back. I was like, I don't want to be a medium. I don't want this shit. I don't want it. I don't, and I kept on saying, I kept on pushing away from it. I was trying to ignore it. And quite honestly, it wasn't going away. It was only getting louder. In fact, one evening, I remember in the middle of ignoring all that, my daughter comes in my room. And you ever watch the show Poltergeist, and the little girl, that little scene where she goes, they're here, that innocent little voice, and it's just creepy as shit, right?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, my daughter was about 5, 6 at the time, and she comes in my room and she goes, "Daddy, there's a man in my room." And think of that same voice, but saying that to you at, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it was. Holy shit, did I bolt straight up in bed. And I'm thinking, what freaking sicko is in my daughter's bedroom that I need to go kill, go take care of. But you go in there and then you're like, oh, there's nobody physically in there. And then
did you
all
feel
the
them?
hairs stand up on your head going, holy shit, right? And, basically that was when my wife looked at me and said, "You figure this shit out now."
So now it's your problem.
Well, right. And that's why I was like, I never asked for this. And so it was, but she knew, my wife knew that, for whatever reason, these abilities were awakening within me, but I was trying to ignore them. And I needed to either come to terms or figure them out or something. And I went back to that voodoo chick, and she, had a sit down with her. And I said, I don't know. I read the damn book. I don't know what the hell I want to do. I didn't ask for this. It's like waking up in the morning and find out you got a second thumb. It's like, what the hell do you do with it? Like, I don't want it. And she said, well, let's figure it out. And it really was about what I figured out. Mediumship for me, or what I was supposed to do with it, was just like being in the military, was serving something bigger than myself and helping others. And that really at the basis of why I do what I do. And I was like, well, that kind of makes sense. And but I was like, well, I'm still going in the VA. That was my plan. And it was kind of funny because when I started embracing mediumship and started exploring what being a medium meant for Dean McMurray, it took on a whole different meaning. And, whether it was working with Gold Star families, whether it was working one-on-one with veterans, going into hospice units and doing readings with somebody on their deathbed, and just so many awe-inspiring and humbling moments that I'm just like, holy shit, I kind of get when people say, they've been called and you're in the right space, and you just witness some stuff that just completely blows your socks off. And I can't believe that, I've been doing this now, ever since day one from my awakening, I call it, been looking at about 10 years.
So you went from having an experience of grandma in your room and we got to call the voodoo chick. At what point did you get to that point where you're like, okay, this is a thing. This is a thing. I'm not crazy, and I need to harness this or learn how to use this. Did you go to anyone special, or was it voodoo chick that?
Well, I think it was kind of natural, like in the beginning. So I started reading everything, like on, mediumship, and like figuring out what it is, and and different stories about different mediums, because I wanted to understand what being a medium meant for me and what that's supposed to look like. So I was really on the self-discovery journey, because now you think about it, I'm on my transition out of the military. So anybody that's left in the military can tell you, right, guys, that you're almost in a sense losing one identity, or who you thought you were, and then you kind of have to, I don't want to say reinvent yourself, but almost find yourself again. And and that's kind of how it was for me, at least. And I was like, wow, there's this whole other aspect. And so through that journey, yes, did I I found somebody that resonated with me, that was teaching a mediumship course. And I was like, well, let's take this course. Let's see what mediumship's all about. Because around about that time that I took this mediumship course, it was like somebody flipped a switch, and it was just like I was getting flooded with information. It wasn't like something happened and then
no, it did.
I was.
It seems like something happened. It seems like within yourself, once you made the decision to discover more, then more of that information started flooding in.
Well, yeah, in a sense, it did. And you're right, Koz, is that once I started embracing that, it really came full circle. And I was like, all right, now you're serious about this shit. Let's get her done. Let's do it. And it really seems like a whirlwind. Like that first year was just absolutely crazy, because you think of it, I was still Dean the Soldier by day and Dean the Medium by night, because after I took my mediumship course, my instructor at the time said, now what you need to do is you need to do readings. If you want to get better at being a medium, you need to do readings. You flex your ability just like anything else. You practice, what you're going to do.
You got to work out.
You got to and you got to understand how it works with you. And so I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And so I started doing it. And then, of course, word of mouth.
So what do you do?
Spread.
So how do you do that? Do you grab a soldier and go, hey, specialist or sergeant or whatever, can I talk to you? Obviously, it would probably be a good friend of yours.
Yeah, it started with family and friends. I kept it on the DL, and, in the beginning, I supervised I supervised 3 individuals directly right before I retired, other full-time staff, and only a select portion of those people knew what was going on initially. And we'd all talk about it, like we'd be bullshitting over lunch or kind of over coffee or whatever. And like somebody'd be like, oh, dude, you're so screwed, and it's like, so we'd joke about it a little bit. And they'd be like, oh, what's going on today? And, like, holy shit, I had this happen. And so I would share some, coffee talk stories, if you will. And they'd be like, whoa, so there was some interest, but I kept it really low. And it wasn't until right before like that last, I want to say 6 to 8 months right before my, getting, my release date. And before I got out, I was like, I was kind of like the grumpy old guy. And I was like, screw it. What are they going to do? I already got my letter. I already got my date, I don't care anymore. And I was like, and so, basically when commanders and some of the other senior enlisted were asking me, hey, so, because they always said, Sar Mac, so what are you going to be doing when you get out? And then I kind of just told them, I said, well, do you know what a medium is? And they were like, what? And so then I would kind of explain to them, and they were like, it's interesting because people are people. I don't care what you do, whether you serve their country or not, is some people are really interested in it. And some people will just give themselves the cross and move out. They like a big non-believer, and that's okay.
Or they're interested enough to kill the conversation.
Well, yeah, some would completely turn the other way and be like, be like, well, I got to do some paperwork, or, I got to grab, it's like, so yeah, so sometimes it would. So whether they had an interest in it or not, but so it was kind of interesting. I was like, people are people. It doesn't matter what you do. Everybody has their own interests and beliefs. And, it's just about honoring them wherever they are. It's not about making somebody a non-believer, a believer, or whatever this, it'd just be like religion in a sense. So
would you say whomever, let's call him Joe, I've got a feeling about you. Would you like to hear this? I mean, they would have to want to hear this.
Right. Well, and that's the same with anybody. Like, I just don't roll up to somebody on the street and be like, oh my God, I got a deceased grandmother stepping forward to talk to. I don't do that. I have really big boundaries and ethics when it comes around that stuff. It's probably part of it is probably the way I was raised, but number 2, the way that I understand that energy work goes is that I never do a reading on somebody that number 1 doesn't want it, and it's not warranted. I won't just roll up to somebody and start reading them, or I won't pre-read you and be like, meaning start reading your energy or start connecting to spirits before your permission.
So it's not like you bump into somebody on the subway. I'm not saying that there's subways in North Dakota, but you don't like bump shoulders and go, oh my gosh, look out for that bus, because you're gonna die. Right.
Well, no, I've never gotten anything like, oh my God, like seeing. Well, that would be a lie, I guess, because if I said that, there was twice that I remember that there was, I almost got like, if you will, like a premonition in a sense of a couple people, like future events. But I know enough, this is one thing that I know, is that when it comes to premonitions or future visions, right, they don't always come true. Because the future is always evolving, right? And it's because, and I just use an analogy like this. If I run out right after the show, Rob's 7-Eleven, okay,
don't do that.
It's going to affect my future outcome.
Yeah.
And so, but depending on what I do or don't do in this given moment, it's always, the future is always evolving. So, it doesn't always mean that, if somebody gets a vision or a premonition, it doesn't mean that it's cut in stone, if that makes sense. So you always hear, oh my God, I see this for you. That's just a possibility. It's one of a million possibilities. It might hold the highest energy potential. And when you talk about Koz, you talked about getting your palm read. In a sense, that's the same psychic aspect of reading energy and saying this is how your relationship's going to be.
Yeah, but your palm and what is on your palm is what you're born with.
Yeah, but do you want to? But my belief is this:
you can always change.
Say if you were told that story and you were like, bullshit, I want to change that narrative. I want to change that story. I believe that we have the ability to change the ending of our story, saying, nope, that's not the way I go out. That's not the way that I have a relationship with my wife or my kids. That's not the way that my military service is going to go. I am the author of my book, and I have the pen. And saying, regardless of what energy paths are out there, I always believe saying, yeah, it might be pretty strong, and that might be from birth. But at the same time, I believe, and again, I say I believe, because there will be other psychics and mediums that say, well, I kind of disagree with you, Dean, and that's okay. But I have found for me personally that you can change the narrative of your story.
So how do you
change?
How do you get people? How do you do a reading? Do you hold their hand, or do you just have a conversation, or?
Right. So it starts with a chicken foot, a pint of rum, and so
that's totally cool.
You heard rum. No, I'm just
rum and chicken's feet, and I'm like, ooh, let's do this.
So you guys eat and then you drink some shots and then you do a reading.
No,
this is cool.
I'm messing with you guys. No, really, I always tell this to clients: is I'll connect to you, connect to spirit that's stepping forward to communicate with you. I'll give you a description of who I'm seeing, sensing. And then I'll take a brief pause and ask you if that's somebody you can recognize and or validate. If you can, great, we'll go ahead and deliver the message. If you can't, I'll go back and get as much information as I can. If you still can't validate who it is, I will still deliver the message and trust that who it is and their message will make sense a bit down the road. Kind of straightforward. I've done readings for folks that are, around the world or in my backyard or, across the state, but so really time and space doesn't really matter. So people always ask, well, do you have to be in the same room? Do you have to hold their hand? And no, because what you're doing is you're connecting to the energy of, you think about that. So, but one of the things that I wanted to add, because you alluded to it, Koz, is, how you could use, and I don't want to use psychic powers. I don't want to use that term.
Okay.
But how you could use I'll say your intuition, because I know, your audience is, military veteran, all that great stuff is like how somebody could use it for their everyday life. And I'm going to give you one story, and you can, ascertain it into your life. Is looking back after, stepping into my abilities and awareness, I was looking back and I was like, when the hell was I really aware of something weird? And it took me back to one night in Afghanistan, and we were doing a night up-armored mounted patrol in a more hot area, and the route wasn't as clear as maybe some of the others. And as you guys probably well know, one of our SOPs is, you never stop in an ambush area.
No,
you never
blast
stop
through
at some
that.
point. And right, and you always look at the look like it could, support an IED, move the vehicles up past the choke point. Well, this one evening, the lead vehicle, I wasn't in the lead for patrol, but my fellow squad leader stopped the patrol kind of halfway through it, and this choke point, and I kept on hearing this voice telling me, you need to move the vehicles another 500 meters up. And I was like,
that's a long
what
way.
the hell? Where the hell is this voice coming from? And so I'm getting on the radio, trying to get a hold of the lead vehicle, move the vehicles up. And of course, nobody's answering. I'm thinking, what the hell? Well, here are the guys who were out, which is so weird because we never, ever have done this. It was just this one night. And the guys were out having a smoke, taking a leak. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, these guys have lost their mind. And so I'm sprinting, trying to sprint up to the lead vehicle. And, hey, let's get this. We're sitting in a choke point here. You need to move the vehicles up another 500 meters. And about that time, the lead squad leader and I heard a audible clicking noise. And to kind of paint the picture of some of the terrain, it was kind of a sheer kind of steep ravine right off to our right. And, couldn't see all the way down, but we knew it was, plateaued a ways down. And we still believe to this day that it was a detonation device, an automated detonation device that was trying to ignite an IED. And luck would have it, obviously, that night that we had some prototype equipment this was back in 2003. So this was
way early.
Yeah. So, it was a while ago, and we had an ammo can back in those days. It was an ammo can with a switch and a bunch of batteries and wires, but in it was basically the God, I can't even think the name now, but basically it created that electronic bulb.
The glow plug. I know exactly what it is.
Yep, there you go. So it basically creates that protective bubble, right? And we still believe to this day that if it wasn't for that technology, that we wouldn't be here. But I go back to that night and go, where did that voice come from? Because it wasn't the driver and it wasn't my gunner. And I was like, that's something else. That was somebody else. And so whether it was my higher self, my guardian angels, God,
somebody
looking out for my ass or our ass and be like, hey, dummy, move the vehicles up. And, which was so weird because, we never did that. It was drilled into us. We did it hundreds of times that, you guys know.
When this happens, this happens. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And better. Like, these guys are seasoned. And, it wasn't the first day in country for us. We've been out on patrol numerous times, daytime, nighttime, right? And these guys knew better, but it was just one of those weird things. And, of course, we all know it only takes once. Step on your dick once. And
and it changes the outlook of everything and the way that you do things all the time.
But I don't go, I don't focus back on, hey, so-and-so, did this. But it was more about, where did that voice come from? And I was like, okay, if somebody is a soldier currently serving, if somebody is a police officer, okay, if somebody is a fireman, a paramedic, I don't care if you're digging ditches, working construction, like if there's a gut, if your gut tells you that something is off or unsafe, or there's, somebody's up to something, I would trust it. And 99.9% of the time, every time I have listened to my intuition, it has proved me right. And usually it's when I try to supersede my intuition that, and I just don't listen to the right factual information is when it bites me in the ass. But every time that I've listened to it, even if I don't understand it, and if something tells me something's off with somebody and I just respect it, doesn't mean that they're a serial killer. It means that their energy is not connecting with mine. And I'm just like, I keep them at that COVID level, right? The 6 feet. Okay, you keep your ass over there. I'll stay. Nice to meet you. And I just move out. I just pop smoke, move out. And I'm just like, okay.
But that could transcend into a personal decision. Should I buy this house? Should I buy this car? Should, just anything. You got to listen to that inner voice.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of people say, well, that's horseshit. I should. And yeah, I'm not saying ignore the logic, because yes, you're going to look, say we'll talk about cars or a home. You're going to look at your interest rate. You're going to look at your bank account. You're going to look at the logic that shapes your decisions. But if something tells you saying, oh my God, I never thought to go over and take a look at this one dealership. And maybe maybe it's just an oddball dealership that you never seen. And you're like, let's just go over here. It's about the, maybe the 90th car you're looking at. And all of a sudden, maybe you get the best deal in the world. Or, hey, let's just go over and look at this house. So if something's guiding you.
Let's try one more. Let's look at one more house. And then that's the one.
But what I'm also saying is, if something's guiding you to do it, trust it. How many times have you heard these social medias, guilty for this around Christmas time, because everybody loves these warm and fuzzy stories about miracles, right? And they're cool. But, people that are all of a sudden they say God is talking to them and saying, why don't you pick up an extra gallon of milk? And saying, why the hell would I need an extra gallon of milk? I already got a gallon of milk. Just get an extra gallon of milk. And then they're going home and saying, why don't you take a left here instead of a right? Why would I take a left? And they're listening to these cues, and all of a sudden there's somebody there that maybe had no milk for their kids, or they're put in the, so some people say it's, the higher calling or God kind of speaking through you, whatever that is. I call it intuition. And if we listen to it, we can leverage that. And there's a thing that I call tactical intuition. So whether you put it in a tactical situation,
it's intuition that has camos on.
Right. You can't see it, but you can feel it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But that's the thing, is like you can use it in any situation. So whether you're stacking on a house and you're wanting to get a feel, and or whether you're again buying a car or whatever. And I know it sounds maybe crazy to some, but the more you can learn to harness it, it's some crazy shit. And I'm telling you, I have found since I've retired, and obviously doing the psychic medium gig full time, it's something that I have found in business that you can help business owners and your own business accentuate. A lot of people don't realize that, but it gives you the edge up. And a lot of people.
So do you present that as a psychic thing, or do you just, as a consultant, you can say, I would advise you for this?
Sometimes it depends who I'm talking to, but usually my clients know that I'm a medium. And, if they have me on retainer, because I got companies that have, believe it or not, there's companies that want to have I'll call it maybe a corporate psychic, whether they want somebody that is really good at what they do and can give them sound advice.
Or if you have a history, and you need to have a history of good advice.
I can't give them shit. Somebody's going to hire you. I don't care if you're an electrician or what, and you just show up and do a crap job. What are they? You're asking to be on the curb. It's like,
so. Yeah, but if you show up as a medium and do a crap job, it's like, oh no, you misread that.
Well, at the same time, somebody could say that, but at the same time, is like if somebody's paying the paycheck and saying, well, whether I misread it or not, I think I'm going to move to a different direction. Because people ultimately should not feel like, and that's another thing, if they're feeling like, and I want to give this caveat because there are the quote unquote charlatans in this industry, just like anybody else. And if somebody is trying to force somebody into getting, maybe more readings or more, hey, for $1,200, I'll clear a family curse. Or why don't you buy this chakra candle and it will clear your generational lineage for $5,000. It's like, boy, should be sending red flags. Like you should run for the hills. So if somebody is doing something in a fear base, is number one fear, or is a red flag. And if they make them feel like pressured, there should be no pressure. Be like, well, either you work with me or you don't. That's okay. And usually I end up giving more away than I actually charge for. Yeah. So it's interesting. There's people that do, nasty stuff in any industry, unfortunately. Especially this year, right? We see that. And
this is a horrible year for a lot of folks. This is a really bad year.
Except for realtors. Holy cow. Great year for realtors. In North Dakota, anyways, been off the charts.
Selling
great.
Or buying?
Both.
It's
been great. I don't know about other states.
What's up in North Dakota that is drawing people up there? I mean, gas and oil is great, but
that's even kind of touchy.
Yeah.
And I really don't know. To be really honest, I don't. And I'm like, well, I don't know who's buying it, but hey, that's great. Good for them. They feel stable enough to be purchasing homes, and that's great for the economy. And
I've been monitoring my home value because I'm going to refurb this house, and then I really want to move to where I want to be. I'm not where I want to be, so I want to be somewhere else. So I'm like, maybe another year.
Right.
But with the new election, maybe things will change. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I need a spirit medium to guide me.
Maybe. I think maybe you can listen to your own inner guidance too.
Yeah.
Save yourself $1 or $2. But
I will talk myself out of some of the best decisions I could have ever made.
I think we all do that though, Koz. I think we all have like these moments of brilliance, like would rival like Einstein, and then we just stomp the shit right out of them.
I've got a notebook. I've got a notebook of things, and it's a notebook that just has it's just a notebook of shit. It's a shit book, and it's got like ideas, and I'll jot it down, and I'll have a dream or something, and I'll jot it down. Taylor Swift said, "Fucking A, Koz, you're the best thing ever." And then, pages later, it's just like, you don't need to do this, or you need to do this, or this is a feeling that I had. And I should break open that book. Well,
you should, and maybe go through it, because there's always, nuggets in there to glean. But, and I'm not going to even pretend that I am a dream interpreter, guru, like knowledge, but I know that there's, we're tapping into our subconscious, and there's a lot of shit going on, and, it's like there's a lot of stuff. But I do know that spirits like to talk to a lot of people in their sleep, or, in that dream state, because most of us got so much stuff going on when we're sleeping that we don't take the time to get to that state, that mental state. You think of meditating and slowing down and really paying attention, and because most of the time when we start getting that, it's like, is that really what I'm getting, or is that because I watched I don't know, Ghost Whisperer or something on TV, right? It's like I don't know.
I don't know what I blame this on. This was probably 2-3 months ago. I was laying in bed. I've been in this house, so it's nothing new. This is my normal area. I felt a pressure on my chest, and this is when I was sleeping, so I have no idea where to attribute this to. But it's just like all of a sudden I'm awake in my dream going, get the fuck off my chest. And I couldn't breathe. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
You know, so I'm like, in the name of God, get the fuck off my chest.
Right.
And then I woke up and I'm sitting up and I'm like, what the hell? And it was like 2:00 in the morning.
Right.
And it never happened again. I've never had any reoccurrence of that, but I was just like, that was weird. So I think everyone at some point has some kind of experience.
Yeah. Well, and there's, a lot of different phenomenons of, these paralysis and there's so many crazy, cool stories in a sense. So I guess my word cool, but like whose definition is cool, but it isn't when you're going through it. Sometimes it's freaky as shit, but like, whether it's like you can't get it off or whatever, and you wake up to this and it's like, what is that? And was that a legitimate paranormal experience, or was that the body's reaction to maybe something that was unpleasant in the dream?
Possibly. When I woke up, I always sleep either on my side or my stomach, and I woke up on my back. So maybe I could breathe. So this thing went on in my head. I have no idea.
Right. It was interesting. I was just talking with a client today about possessions. And this individual helps other people, but in a different state. But it was interesting that, we were talking about possessions and just how they were finding that it's on the rise, and talking about, where they were talking about demonic possessions in a sense. And it was so fascinating because, we understand that there's a lot of what I would call negative shit out there. I don't like saying demons. I don't like giving a label in a sense. I just call them negative entities or negative shit. But it was fascinating because I was like, and I've had some experience with possession cases and what you would be listed under as like exorcisms, I guess. But it's not like you would think is all of a sudden you got to dress up as a Roman Catholic priest and come in with holy water and start dousing people and can the Catholic Church do that? Absolutely. And there's a lot of people that still have priests come in and bless their homes.
Well, the Atlantic actually published a story that the title of that is Catholic exorcisms are gaining in popularity.
Yeah.
Is it a popular thing or is it a real thing?
Well, I think it's twofold. Number one, I think because of all the fear-based bullshit, and that's my words. These are my terms. There's so much fear being spun up, and I'm gonna say it, but number one by the media and to the government and a lot of other things, right? Because when you get somebody in fear, when you get a group of people, the best way to I did an article on this.
There's like herd immunity for things. There's herd whatever this is.
When you get people in fear, what are they going to do? You have them right by the short hairs, right?
Yeah.
And you can guide people to wherever you want to go, right to the edge of the cliff, right? And so when people become conscious and going, hey, this is kind of scary, but I'm going to question what's going on. And that's when it's dangerous. That's when people feel challenged because people are trying to empower themselves and find the truth. Be like, well, I'm getting conflicting reports here. Who's really truth? And so basically, but here's the thing, is when people, what I have found, anytime that anybody perpetuates in a stasis of fear, it's like a cycle. And because it almost feeds off itself. And not only if it's government, if it's, I don't care what entity
news.
It is.
If you watch the news, the world is burning right now.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't care if it's logical or illogical. It can be metaphysical, but anything that's negative loves fear. It feeds on it. It needs it to live. And when you remove the aspect of fear, what do you have?
Reality.
You don't have any more fear. You don't have any of that. You have empowerment. So when so a lot of times people, I'll, poke a little fun at maybe, at least one paranormal show that I know, but that always use the terms of like demon or demonic, always kind of throwing that out.
That kind of scares me when you throw out demon or demonic or something like that.
See, and it's
a
label,
word,
right? But the thing is would it be naive for me to say that stuff doesn't exist? Absolutely it would. However, do I walk around with blinders on and say, no, I don't, but I don't call that stuff by those labels, and I just lump it under the aspect of negative entities or energy, because I don't care what it is. It's not harmonious with our well-being, and it needs to get the fuck out. It needs to pop, smoke, move out.
So Terry Nichols, one of our listeners in the chat, is saying, so you're saying to listen to your gut feeling.
Well, absolutely.
I think it would. I think listening to your gut, and this is my opinion, is listening. Your gut is the number one instinct. If something feels off, then
yes,
you need to examine it. I'm not saying don't do it. I say examine all options.
I want to give you a quick example of that. I had a radio station contact me about doing an interview, and I was like, oh, hey, thanks for reaching out, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, hey, how did you find out about me? And I was like, God, and I had to research and make sure they're legit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what's the catch? Because I felt that there was a catch. Something was off. And the guy that I talked to on the phone was very, very open and honest. He said, yeah, they're going to sell you advertising. And he goes, but you can just say, nope, thanks, and just go with the interview. And I was like, okay, cool. So we do the interview. A little while later, the quote-unquote president of the radio station calls. I think it's just some dude in the back office.
His name was Frank.
And,
Frank.
He was a fast talker and was moving in for the hard sell. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. And this guy kept on just hammering, like trying to sell me this advertising. I was just being really nice. I was being Midwest nice, right? And
so he wanted you to say, hey, I want you to, buy Ivory soap, don't you know?
Or don't you know, yeah. And but no, basically I told him, hey, finally, I was like, dude, I'm not going to buy any advertising, packets. Thanks. And I was waiting because my intuition kept on telling me there's something up with this guy.
I see.
Something off. And finally he blew up on the phone and just started cussing and swearing, and he went full blown psycho on me. And then he slammed down the phone. I was like, and I started laughing after he hung up, and I was like, see, I knew, that the red flags were coming up, and because I was waiting for the hook. I already knew, and I already told the guy I knew, and that they were going to sell me, and but my gut told me there was something more. And so whether you're dating somebody, whether you're buying a car, whether you're going to buy, we're getting these vibes anyways.
Personal relationships are probably a different thing, but they're yes.
Yeah.
You always have a feeling. You have a feeling. It doesn't matter whether you're dating or whether you're meeting somebody.
Right. Well, and the other thing, Koz, just because I think about this, here my daughter is like 15 now, right? And I'm thinking of a dad with a daughter, and I'm like, shit, I can't always be there for her, other than teaching her how to shoot, a firearm.
I love that.
What is one way that I can, protect her? And I was like, something that she will always have on her is her intuition. Like, it's built in. It's hardwired.
You have a feeling.
And
of everything. Should I buy this gallon of milk or that gallon of milk? I don't know.
And that's why I was like, trying to teach her from a young age to trust these intuitive vibes, we'll call them. And if, regardless of how good looking somebody looks like in jeans,
mm-hmm.
it's like, we've all made bad decisions, but at the same time, we hope it's not long lasting, right? And, there's a lot of times where you just get a bad vibe, but you're probably already half in the bag and you're like, the hell with it. It's like, I'm going with it. It's like, damn alcohol that makes all the bad decisions. But.
Or whatever. Something feels good and it's going to feel good for a while and you agree to things and then all of a sudden, the wheels come off.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing. A lot of times your intuition will go against logic and saying, why would I go do that when it makes absolutely no sense? And it might not be what our ego, right? Because the ego wants fluff. We want to feel good.
We love fluff. We love to feel good.
Right.
As humans.
We all do. We all do at some level. And, and sometimes, your intuition is going to be going the other way, but, it's for your highest good. But a lot of times we're just going, hey, I want to get from A to B the quickest. And I see this route. It's like, I wouldn't take that way. And we're like, screw it. It's like, hammer it down. And then next thing we're like, shit, we got stuck. It's like, I told you so. It's like,
it's where all fuck comes with we don't have a reverse. We just have to plow through it or whatever.
Right. Well, and sometimes then we're stuck in that. We're stuck in that lesson, right? We're like, okay, well, what can I can sit here and say, feel sorry for myself or learn something from this and move on and then, try to do better. But, so it's an interesting journey for sure. But, the biggest thing that I would share is that, to listen to your gut, because again, you can really, and it's not just a bunch of fluff, is the crazy psychic medium dude telling you to listen to your higher self, but at the same time you can really accentuate your life and your business by doing that.
Are you this is just off the side of my head. Are you a religious man, or are you more of a spiritual guy, or?
Well, I'm more spiritual now. I was raised very much Protestant, and got married in a Baptist church. Went to a Lutheran church after we got
dude.
married.
You're all fucked up.
I was all fucked up, and no, we and it was interesting. The last church we went to when we were married. The pastor was very spiritual, like talking about, completely believed in mediums and everything because, saying, hey, you're just talking to God, and had a way different take on, spirituality. And I was like, I kind of dig where they're coming from. And I'm more of a mix, right? Because I kind of like some of the Hindu teachings and a little bit of
Buddhism,
a little bit of
some Buddhism,
Taoism,
just some
some little bit of Eastern, a little bit of West, and I make my own salad, whatever the hell I want. But at the same time, is like I really just try to keep it real. But I was like, I kind of go with really what resonates with me. Do I believe that there's a higher power that what we would understand as God or the universe? Absolutely. I really do. And I've had experiences that really validate that. Were really awe-inspiring. But so yeah, I guess you would consider that I'm a religious man. To answer your question, I guess.
And I'm asking that for myself. Am I a religious guy or a spiritual guy? I'm like a go with the flow guy.
Right.
I was raised, very religious in religious schools and whatnot, and I'm sick of the structured religion thing that the Catholic Church. I was raised in the Catholic Church that had to offer, but I'm more of now is treat everyone great. Don't be an asshole, I guess, is my religion. Don't be an asshole.
That's a great religion.
I like that one. I like that one. Yeah.
Is it wrong? I don't know. I don't know. Is it wrong? I have no idea.
I don't think it's wrong. Is there any right or wrong? I don't know. What are the rules anymore? And, the other thing, Koz, I really dislike the old way of teaching, or when you go to the Christian belief of teaching the old way of the Bible, right? And it was always doom and gloom. Do this or you're going to end up in the fiery hell and burning in fire, hell nation and all that, the old way. And to me, I was like, that's all fear-based. Like, why are you? And so I was like, I'm not going to, I was like, no, that doesn't resonate with me. And even at a young age, I remember because my mom, I'm the youngest out of 4. And as both my sisters kind of got out of the house and my brother, and, even, I was supposed to go to Sunday school and all that great stuff. And after a while, it did not resonate with me. It was like sandpaper, and nothing against, the folks that were running the church, but it was just, the way that they were teaching stuff. And, lo and behold, did I know that there was something that I just didn't understand that was probably sitting there and being like, shit, dude, you already know how to talk to dead people. Like, it's like.
We have a message. Adriana says this is a little bit complex, and that sure. I feel for you, Adriana. She says that I had a friend, a fellow soldier, that died by drowning. We took him out on a boat, and we went tubing, and he fell out. We don't know why he never came back up.
Right.
Because he was an excellent swimmer. I've carried that guilt for years, and I've learned to forgive myself.
Oh,
I keep his hat. What's your opinion on that?
Well, first off, I want to say, before I weigh in on my opinion, is, sometimes that's a real common one that I deal with, is people dealing with so much guilt, right? Whether they had to make the decision in somebody's life support, or, not, whether they couldn't find the body or they didn't do enough or whatever. And so it's great to hear that she has come to forgive herself. But I feel like it was almost like I don't want to say like, I almost want to say like being knocked out in a sense, like being the wind knocked out of you. Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
So like hitting a tube hard enough, and then it's just like, involuntary, and it's almost like just a freak thing where I feel it was like almost like immediate. So if that makes sense, like kind of being knocked out, so to speak. But so that's my 2 cents on that. So it's great to hear that she has forgiven herself for that, because
that's tough.
Yeah,
I was in a car accident right before I got out, and a good friend of mine, me and another fellow who was driving lived. His girlfriend died, and I felt, because the CID report said that because I was an unrestrained passenger in the back seat, I caused the front seat to go forward, and that's why she died. I'm like, I fought with that for years. And
right.
Logically, that wasn't it. It was it was a situation. It was a circumstance.
Right.
So
go ahead. Sometimes too, like, even what you were talking about is, the people that are writing the reports, they're trying to use logic, or what they understand is, probably the most probable cause, right? They always go, well,
I get
that.
I do get that. I do get that.
Yeah. But at the same, because they're not like, well, let me, think about this. If they were Army CID and show up, well, let's get the resident psychic in here, and he'll give a reading, like why, what happened, and
So if there was an MOS for that, would you go back in?
I'm getting too old now. Getting too old, maybe a little too much of the spare tire, and trying to get rid of it. But No, I wouldn't go back in. I've done my time. I'm getting to be the old timer now. So.
I'm like that. I'm glad for my service. I loved my service.
Right. Yeah.
Would I do it again? No. I've already got that badge. I think I'm done.
Right.
I love it, and I tried that too because I was out for I think we're about the same age, but I got out in '96. I went in '87.
Okay.
When I graduated high school, and then I got out in '96, and I kind of got that itch again. The job market was like that, so I went and contracted for a year.
Oh wow!
And I was like, wow, I'm the old guy. Really, I was really the old guy. Right. And it was horrible because I had a good time. I was making good money, but I was seeing what these Joes are going through. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no. Unless I'm at that E7, E8, E9 level, I could never deal with this shit. These guys went through, like hell, just leadership wise.
Right.
The flow down from leadership.
Mm. Yeah, I guess if I had to. If I had to redo it all over again, if I, would I go back and do military? Absolutely, I'd do it. But, being at that age, of course, obviously. But, would I go back and now? No, because I can't, I think I can't really fathom like doing something different than what I do now. And number one, and nothing against the government, but I wouldn't want them controlling what I do. I love my service. I'm very proud of serving my country, and I get that's working. I'm very grateful for my retirement check as well. But at the same time, here's the deal. I wouldn't want them controlling me in that aspect. And plus, if you were working as a psychic or even as a medium for the military, you're probably working some black ops, you don't exist probably, right? And so, you're just Terry, the desk pusher, right? Until they need you to do some weird shit.
Then you change your hat and you go to work.
Right? So yeah. So, I wouldn't want that, I really wouldn't want that control over me. I'd love to have the leeway of saying who I work with, and I can pick and choose that. And so whether that's whether it's a scientist or a Fortune 500 company or whatever, that's I can pick and choose.
Do you do like personal things, or are you more corporate?
I do all. Like I really discriminate. Do a lot of like family gigs. So meaning like families and, get together, like say a handful of their family and maybe a handful of friends. And then they all want to drink in their garage or their home and have like a little party, and then have the psychic medium give everybody a reading. And so I do a ton of those. And then obviously then there's the, hey, just husband and wife or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Excuse me. So like the couple readings or even individual. So yeah. So, and then obviously then working with the corporate aspect as well. So working with, corporations, business owners, even a scientist in there, believe it or not, is top of the list. But, people from all over, kind of working all kinds of industries that are realizing that, saying, hey, we understand that there's somebody with a specific skill set. And really, what's interesting is I didn't really stumble on it. Well, I kind of did, but I read an article that I can't even remember her name. They did an article on Forbes, or somebody did an article on this gal that was that was billing herself as a corporate psychic or whatever. And she was kind of well known. And I was like, well, why can't I do that? I mean, maybe I'm too ugly. I don't know. And,
it's your hair. Like, it's definitely your hair.
It's my hair. Yeah, I know. And so I all it is, you pitch it to, you get to know certain people. And next thing you know, it's you just kind of saying, hey, do you know anybody that would be interested in doing this? And somebody was like, oh, shit, I would be. And be like, and so next thing you know, you got to come up with a proposal, and you work with one client, and guess what? The word spreads. You
found your niche.
Yeah, kind of, in a sense, and it's really kind of it's really fun because no one day is the same. So
we got a message on Facebook. It says, and this is completely out of the blue. It says, my father died under shady circumstances. A person was convicted of manslaughter, but I've always thought that there was much more to it. Mm-hmm. Is this something that they could use your services for? I don't know. Do you do crime solving stuff?
I was just going to say, I have. I used to, for a time, I volunteered with an organization, a nonprofit organization called Find Me. They're still out there, and they're a nonprofit that works with psychics, mediums, and other energy workers all around the world that work on missing person cases and homicides. And so, they use a whole database, if you will, of people, and they send out this case file, and then you get it on your computer, and then, the psychic or whomever sits at home and, does whatever reading and saying the body's located here, and then they type up a report. So have we done something similar? Absolutely. Have I done, I remember doing a public gallery, meaning, there was a group of people and I gave everybody a reading. And there was one lady, and I said, oh my God, I said, there was a gentleman that was stepping forward, and he was killed with there was a knife involved. There was a stabbing, and she validated who it was, and she was saying that they never got convicted, and the murderer. And I said, I don't, I said, I feel that they never will. It was one of those things that kind of, I think it was after a bar or whatever fight or something. It was just kind of crazy, and the individual ended up dying from the wounds, and they never did get convicted because they never quite figured out exactly who it was. It was just such a weird case.
That is so open-ended. It's just
right. And you want, and even as a medium, even if I don't know the individual because I give a shit, I actually want closure for these people because, I mean, it's, you want somebody to have closure. There's a part of me that wants that individual, that family to, be like, oh my God, thank you. Or be like, oh my God, now I can feel that we can, put that piece to rest. And sometimes, quite honestly, is it always just an open and closed case? Not all the time. And it's kind of crazy.
Maureen sent us a message. She asks, do you ever get visions of things that happen in real time to individuals?
Yeah. So great question. Yeah. So sometimes, got visions of actually, well, it was more premonition, but because she's asking more in real time. I do, but sometimes I don't know what's happening because
you don't know what it is. It's
right.
It's a
I don't
thing.
know what it is. I might get a vision of it. And so, for example, one thing is one day it was remember back the big tsunami. I can't even remember what year it was, but I started getting stuff prior, and then on the day of, and I was like, what is this? Like, it's a natural disaster, and I was like, I didn't even know what country. And then I was really thinking about it, and I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, I can't call the local government saying evacuate. And
evacuate your entire country, right? Because I had a dream.
Like, but it didn't even make sense at the time, right? And because I was thinking this after the fact, after it validated. But I didn't even know exactly what it was, but I was thinking, God, this sounds like a natural disaster. But I was like, where is it? And what are the ramifications? Like what, and it wasn't until like, of course it was everywhere that you turned, it was TV and social media everywhere. And I was like, holy shit. Like I was completely like freaked out a little bit. And I was like, and then I had a little talk with, I call it my spiritual support network. And I was like, hey guys, you can't be giving me shit that I can't do anything with. Like,
so you've got a voodoo crew.
Yeah, I was like, why do I want to know that there's a tsunami coming unless I'm like, I can't do anything about that. Like, I can't, it's not like I have my finger on the evacuation button. Like, and I want to help these people. Like, now that sucks to know that there's something bad happening and I can't do anything about it. And so I said, I'd rather not know that stuff. And so, so yeah, that was kind of the agreement we made. And I was like, I'm not going to,
you can't really pick and choose. You can't really pick and choose whatever information you get.
You can't, I always tell people, cause, there was seemed like, I don't know, it was about 3-4 years ago. There was a big boom in everybody wanted to become a medium. It was just like ghost hunting, right? All these shows. Right. Everybody was like, I want to become a ghost hunter. And I always share people this with that comment is that you can't unknow stuff. You can't unknow shit. And I was like, be careful what you wish for. And I'm not saying that as an ominous warning. I'm not trying to paint a dubious or a ominous picture, but you can't unknow things. And so, for example, one of the things is that this year I lost my dad, and not because of COVID. It was liver failure, right?
No, it was COVID. It was COVID.
Right. Well, that's probably was on the death certificate.
I'm making a joke.
No. That's I completely get it. Yeah, that's yes. And I wouldn't doubt that you're not, that you'd be correct in saying that as well. With the crazy stuff that's been going on this year. But I knew before my dad went into the nursing home, it was about a year cycle in a sense from before. So a year before he actually passed, I knew he was dying because I turned to my wife when we left one time visiting him, and his leg wasn't doing so well. And I said they were, I don't know, dealing with it, whatever. And I said, he won't, they were talking about him going into a nursing home. And I said, he'll never come back to home again. Yeah, I said, he'll never step foot in that house again.
Oh, no.
And I said, he'll die in the nursing home. And she said, yeah, and what did he say, right? And I was like, and it was really kind of heavy because I knew, like, you get a lot of stuff about people's passing and different things, but now all of a sudden it's really personal, like it's dad, right? And and before that I knew my mother-in-law was passing, and I knew that she had cancer before she knew it, and so that stuff is kind of heavy, and it's like, what do you do with that? And it's like, so sometimes I wish that I didn't know. And sometimes when I do know, I hope I'm wrong in that aspect because, it's just like, well, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they pull through. But at the same time, it becomes, it can be challenging. But I always share this is be careful what you wish for, because, again, you can't unknow it. And everybody thinks, ooh, that'd be cool. It'd be cool to be. No, I didn't go looking for this shit. It's like, it just came up and slapped me alongside the head like a 2x4, and it's like so.
And you're kind of running with it,
right? And it's really evolved and changed through the years, from just doing readings to, now I've been, like I said, working with the, organizations and individuals. Not only with dowsing, but also, psychic consulting and all that great stuff. So it really takes on a whole new persona, I guess, and it's really where you want to take it. But, like I always said, the mission has always been from day one, and it still is today, is that, is if I can help just one individual, then it makes it all worth it. So even if however long I do this, if I do it for, another 20 years, whatever, I don't know. But, as long as I can help one individual, and, and usually seems like when you get in that space of doubt, then it's almost like God or the universe comes down and then kind of nudges one person, and they reach out and be like, oh my God, you were a big, you really helped out, and, you get kind of a pat on the back, so to speak. And
so we've thrown your website and your social media stuff, but how would I've got two questions. How can we get in touch with you if we need something?
Yeah. So if you want to get in touch with me, go over to my website, themilitarymedium.com, and there's a contact page in there. You can just send me an email, or you can go over to social media. I'm mostly active on Facebook, and you can send me a direct message, and I'm usually pretty quick to get back to you. So you can get, kind of real-time feedback there. If I'm not busy, I'll get right back to you. You can ask me questions or whatever, but so yeah.
Okay, and we have another one which is a really good closing question. And
okay.
Maureen asked it again. She goes, are you picking up anything now that can possibly be relayed?
Sure. So Maureen's asking for a quick reading is what I'm understanding.
Just quick, yeah.
Yeah. So really quick, Maureen, for you, that I do have a female that steps forward on the mom's side of the family. Understand that she would have passed in her 80s, and also understand that she would have passed from cancer. There's a connection to the month of, like, what I want to say April, May with her as well. And then also very specifically, she's holding what I would understand is a bouquet of lilacs is what I smell. So very, very fond of lilacs. And then also it kind of feels like that, whether it was in her bridal bouquet or something as well, because there's also a personal connection there. And then also she makes mention, I want to say 2 to 3 miscarriages with her. There's something very, the number is very specific.
Wow.
In there as well. And then she also had a son, it feels like, that she tells me that passed rather young. I want to say almost like in her 30s, that passed prior to her. So I hope that, and obviously, I would sound like a parrot if I said that she was coming forward with a bunch of love, but I want very specifically with her is that she comes forward holding a quilt, a handmade quilt, and she puts that around your shoulders. So number one, validating that she was a quilter. That's what she, one of her things. And then the other thing is she gives you a damn rusty tin. So this tin is like a cracker tin or something. And it would have been one of the knickknacks that she would have collected. So she liked these cracker tins or something. It's a kind of a rusty. I'm like, what are you giving her this tin for? And it's like, she's not telling me to shut up because she's so nice. But me, I'm like, what's up with the tin? She's just handing her the tin. So big smile. I would almost say that she has the persona of, like, if you think of ladies like Aunt B, right? So kind of heavy set and just the perpetual smile and just really jolly. But at the same time, like, she would whoop my ass if I kind of, so anyways, tough love with that lady, but a really lovely soul. But I hope that makes sense to her.
That's super awesome.
As we close out.
I hope that brought you some comfort, maybe, Maureen. Thank you very much for listening, Maureen. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. And thank you, Dean, very much for your presence here, your input, your words. I totally appreciate it, man. This has been a fun show.
Yeah, thank you, Koz, Pooky. It's been really fun being on your program, and just thank your listeners for tuning in tonight and listening to the show.
All right, I guess we're going to close out, and I've got to close out with some housekeeping. On 16 November, Task Force Dagger is going to be in the house. A team from Task Force Dagger will be on Monday edition to talk about their involvement in searching for POWs and bringing them home. Task Force Dagger Special Operations Foundation provides assistance to wounded, ill, or injured USS Special Operations Command members and their families. They respond to urgent needs, conduct rehabilitative adaptive events, and provide next-generation health solutions facing our service members. On 30 November, Fred Lewis, Army veteran Fred Lewis from the Discovery Channel's Gold Rush, will be on Monday edition to talk about how he went from being a Special Forces medic to mining gold. Wow. We got a lot of stuff coming up here, so stay tuned to WTF Nation Radio and U.S. Army WTF Moments, and we're going to keep you informed and entertained. Love y'all. We're going to see you on the flip side.